Today I am making a delicious raspberry maple sauce. So we have lots of raspberries here to get through and make this sauce, so let's get started. Last year I made this recipe using strawberries. I made a strawberry puree and made an incredible sauce out of that strawberry puree. I put that sauce on, it's almost like that Frank's Red Hot sauce where you put that, on everything. Well, this sauce is absolutely delicious over ice cream, on top of waffles instead of maple syrup. It's so delicious. This year I'm going to make it with raspberries. What I'm going to do a little bit different from what I did with the strawberries is the strawberries, I pureed them. Well, what I'm going to do with the raspberries is I'm going to extract the juice from them, and so it doesn't have the seeds. It's going to be a little bit more wasteful, I guess, because I'm not going to be using up all the pulp of the raspberries, but I think it'll make a nicer sauce without the seeds. But if you love the raspberry seeds, go ahead, just puree your raspberries. This recipe is really simple. It consists of 5 ingredients, and that's it. Another thing that I find really great about this recipe is that it's sweetened with natural things, if you will. I'm not going to say it's sugar-free because it's not, but it's sweetened with maple syrup and apple juice. So there's no tons of sugar in it to make it really sweet, and you need the pectin, lemon juice, and that's it, and your raspberries, and you're going to end up with an incredible sauce that you can use. You can make a cheesecake and pour this on top of. Anyway, there's just so many uses for this. So let's get started. The first step is you need to mash your raspberries. You need to crush your raspberries. So what you're going to do is you want to do it in layers. I'm going to do about 8 cups of raspberries. I'm aiming for around 4 3/4 cup of juice, and it's the same thing if you're doing it pureed. You're pureeing your raspberries. You're going to be you want 4 3/4 cup of your puree, which you may need somewhere around 8 cups to puree. I think more, if I want just the juice, I'm going to need more, somewhere around 12 cups, but we'll measure as we go and I'll let you know. We want to start by crushing our raspberries. Do it in layers. Don't dump them all in and crush them. You'll have better results by doing it in layers. So just pour them in and start crushing with a potato masher or whatever you have on hand that works well. We are going to be preserving these raspberries by steam canning them, or you can water bath if you don't have a steam canner. Could make somewhere around 6 250 milliliter jars. So once you're done crushing your raspberries, the next thing that we need to do is to extract the juice. And the way that you're going to do that is by placing a cheesecloth inside of a colander and putting your crushed raspberries in there and letting the juices drip through your cheesecloth. So let's do that next. So you're going to place your cheesecloth in your colander, and then you're going to pour your raspberries inside of this to let the juices flow through. When you're making something like a raspberry jelly and you're basically doing the same things, you're crushing your raspberries and letting the juices flow, you kind of let it drip. You don't want to squeeze too much your cheesecloth because it makes for a nice clear jelly. I gotta say, if you've ever watched my video on raspberry jelly, I'm not a very patient person. I don't necessarily let it always drip through. I do kind of squeeze a little bit because I'm not selling my jam, my jelly. We just eat it here, and it's not that important to me if it's not that clear. But I still find it's quite nice. So I let this kind of drip for a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is squeeze it a little bit. So since this is a sauce, I don't necessarily want a clear sauce. And actually, if I do get a little bit of the pulp inside the sauce, it might help to make it even a little bit thicker, which would be great as well. Because remember, you can't add any thickening agents because we're going to be canning this, so nothing to thicken. So now that I've let it drip a little bit, I'm going to squeeze it to extract the most juice I can from this. Once you've let it drip for a while, then you can start squeezing. And as you're going to see, you're going to be able to get a lot more juice out of there. You can see it running in. So those are all juices that you're saving. Just be careful if you don't want any seeds. If you squeeze too hard, some of those seeds may come through. All right, so when I say this recipe is simple, it's really simple. So it consists of 1 cup of apple juice, 1.5 cups of maple syrup, 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now remember, this is bottled lemon juice because we're going to be canning this. So 3 tablespoons, and then your beautiful raspberry juice. Or raspberry puree if you decided to puree. You're going to give this a stir. And now it's time to move over to the stove. So if you've been counting, we're up to 4 ingredients. So I said 5, so there's 1 ingredient left. So the 1 ingredient that I have left to add into the juice is pectin, like fruit pectin. So it's the crystals, it's the crystal fruit pectin. These are 57 gram packages. So this is the size that I get. And so we bring this to a boil. So we're gonna turn up the heat, bring this to a boil before adding the pectin. Now that this is boiling, we're going to add our fruit pectin. So you add in your pectin, stir it well, bring it to a boil again. Once it's boiling, you boil it hard for 1 minute and that's it. It'll be done. All right, so our sauce is ready. So now all that's left to do is to pour it into our jars. So we're going to put these into our jars, leaving 1/4 headspace. So we don't need a whole lot of room for these. So we just add these to our jar. We're almost there. Always remember, once we've got our jar filled, to clean the rim off with just water and a cloth, just so our lids seal well to the jars. Place your warm caps on top. Mine are warm anyway. Put your ring on, fingertip tight. And then you're going to transfer this over to your canner. I have my steam canner warming up in the back. If I haven't told you yet, or if you're not aware, I absolutely love my steam canner. It's the equivalent of a water bath canner, a lot faster, a lot lighter, a lot easier to use. If you're interested to see which one I have, check out the link in the description below. I do have it linked there. The price has gone down considerably from last year for sure. So let's transfer this over to the canner and fill the rest of our jars. This is why I love steam canning so much. It's so simple and it's so quick. You only need a little bit of water, only to the top of the tray that's inside. You fill it up to there, bring it to a boil, and as you can see if you can see on top, you have a gauge as to where you need to bring your pressure inside, or your temperature inside, based on the zone where you live. And there's instructions in the manual. It's really simple. You put the cover on top. Once it gets into the section where your zone is, and that takes no time flat, I am going to time so you will know how long it took. So I will tell you how long it took to get to the appropriate temperature. This is 10 minutes process time, 5 minutes in the pot once you're done with the cover on. That extra 5 minutes is included in the processing time, so it's necessary to leave it there with the cover on top for 5 minutes, and then it's done. Time is up. It's been 10 minutes and it processed for 10 minutes and I let it sit for 5. So now it's safe to take the cover off and we can remove them from the canner. Now remember, you always want to leave your jars sitting for 24 hours. Don't touch them for 24 hours unless you want to pop open a jar and have some nice raspberry sauce on top of something. Then go right ahead. Otherwise, leave them there for 24 hours. Always write on top what you did put in your jar. This looks a lot like my strawberry sauce that I made last week, so I want to make sure that I'm not confused between the strawberry or the raspberry sauce. So I'm going to write on top what it is and the year that I made it as well. Now remember, you should never store your jars with these rings on top. So once your 24 hours are up and you've checked that they've properly sealed, you shouldn't be able to push down on the top and hear that popping sound anymore. That'll tell you that they're properly sealed. Then you remove these rings, wash them, use them again. Wipe down your jars because sometimes they can be a little bit sticky. Wipe them down, store them in a nice, cool, dry, dark place, and they can keep for up to a year if you can actually resist eating all this sauce in a year. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you like my content, and be sure to check back again soon.